I have been seeing some TikToks that make me believe that millennials might be on the verge of being cool again. I know it seems preposterous, but it might be possible they're escaping cringe jail and getting out of the shadow realm. And honestly, that's kind of frustrating to me because can I be vulnerable with you for a second? In the early 2010s, I got access to the internet and I started copying millennials hard. How I talked, how I dressed, the things I'd buy, they were all influenced by millennial culture. I don't have many pictures from this era of my life because I was 12 and still using an Android phone. But if you want to know the way I thought I was dressing, picture stuff like this, and like this, and like this. In the 2010s, I also bought this. A Funko Pop. So sorry you guys had to find this out about me. I know you think I'm very cool and suave and very like Gen Z and epic, and I am. I swear, I'm still that guy. You know me, come on, this isn't me, okay? This isn't me, I was young, I made a mistake! And look, I have very publicly said that I think generation debates are pretty stupid, okay? But I will never forgive millennials for tricking me into thinking that was a cool way of dressing. Because now, when I look back on that picture, I just see a kid who's like trying to feed off of the cultural runoff of the generation before him. And I feel like I've spent a lot of my adult life kind of running away from the fact that when I was young, even though I was Gen Z, I was really engaged with like millennial aesthetics just because like they were the adults ahead of me that I saw having cool, fun lives. And for me as like a 14-year-old, I was like, well, the only way to be cool is to be older than I am right now. So I'll just try and act like they do. But then of course the 2010s wound down and we got to the era that we're kind of in now where a lot of millennial culture is pretty cringe. It'd be pretty shocking to find out there are teenagers who think the way to be happy is to wear an oversized beanie and go to a coffee shop, and when they ask for your name, you say Senorita awesome. Which is why I was so startled when I saw this TikTok. Imagine it's 2013, a new episode of Girls just dropped. You're a millennial woman living in Greenpoint trying to make it as a slam poet, and you're dating a man who makes BuzzFeed quizzes. Life is good. Trying to make it as a slam poet. What does making it look like? You grind these open mics for years. You try and get your material worked out. Then you get picked up for maybe a big slam poetry show broadcast across the country. All of a sudden you got offers coming in to tour. You're headlining across the US, maybe into Europe, into Asia. You're a millionaire. It's the classic slam poet to millionaire pipeline. I don't need to explain this to you guys. A lot of slam poets actually probably are millionaires because you have to be rich to think that that's a cool thing to do. Sorry, I feel like I'm coming a little hard at slam poetry there. I don't want to be disrespectful. If any of you guys do slam poetry, I think that's awesome. That's cool. You're allowed to have your creative outlets. I can't really say much, but slam poetry? I also like that such a big part of this is dating a man who makes BuzzFeed quizzes. Not many people know this, but BuzzFeed actually accounted for 50% of all US jobs in 2013. Largely due to the fact that the Obama administration was trying to expand our country's listicle mining capabilities to compete with our international rivals. And look, this is like a very simplified version of 2013, right? It's like an ideal scenario. I mean, I guess we don't have a lot of records from the time that we could use to verify that, but this is like a rose-colored glasses sort of thing. But regardless of that, it was shocking to see somebody so openly embracing millennial culture after we've just spent like 10 years collectively dunking on it. And it got me thinking, and I came to a conclusion that I think is going to be pretty hard to swallow. In a world where the mainstream has rejected millennial cringe, to be a millennial, and in fact, to be cringe, is in fact counterculture, and maybe even punk. I do think longing to be a millennial is getting more popular too, because now we have people doing millennial fit checks. I want to be a millennial. Look, I can already hear the millennials chiming off in the comments, all right, being like, oh, this isn't how we dressed. This isn't what we used to wear. Gen Z's so stupid they can't even understand what clothes used to look like. Like, look at this. Girl millennial here. I'm 32 and I dressed just like that in high school. You brought a flashback right there. Oh, I guess, okay, maybe people are kinder than I give them credit for. What did they do to me to the beautiful boy I once was. Caption, like, I want to be a twee BuzzFeed worker who gets coffee at a Global Village aesthetic cafe. Now this I do agree with. If you don't know, the Global Village coffee house aesthetic is the name for the style that kind of dominated like Panera's and Starbucks and other coffee houses in the 2000s and the late 90s. It's got this sort of like hand-drawn aesthetic that's very warm and welcoming. And also, aesthetic fun fact, it was sort of a response to like techno-futurism and this like cold computer-based design style that popped off in the early 90s. Another interesting fact about Global Village Coffee House is that it's fucking awesome and I love it. There was something so magical about being like 4 years old, going to Panera or Starbucks with my mom and it looking like this. Ordering the world's most sawdust-filled cookie under the inviting glow of these specific lamps. I don't think these lamps are necessarily a huge part of the aesthetic, but I remember seeing them everywhere. I don't know why. They're like a core memory for me. What am I, a fucking moth? I have a core memory about a lamp? So yeah, it totally makes sense to me that people would be nostalgic for this sort of vibe because like going into a chain restaurant now is horrible. It's like usually a sterile gray space. It feels like the company is just staring at you while you're ordering saying, fuck you, I hate you. Order a sandwich, it's $20. Sit in the gray chair, sit in the gray table. LMAO, I'm 29. Am I a millennial? You're 29? I didn't even know you could be that old. That's disgusting. I wanted to cut to a video of a 29-year-old that I know reacting to me saying that, but then I realized I don't know any 29-year-olds because that's freaking gross. When I wrote that originally, I was like, oh, do I actually know any 29-year-olds right now? And I didn't think I did, but turns out I actually know quite a few. So to you guys, I just want to say, be younger.
This post brought to you by the 26 and Young Forever gang.
29 is very young. I'm just playing.
No, I'm not. How your hips feeling, oldie?
I'm millennial maxing. Millennial hipster culture was pretty sick. I wish I was in my 20s in the late aughts, early 2010s. It would have rocked so hard. Listening to Vampire Weekend, Phoenix, Arcade Fire, MGMT, LCD, etc. and rewatching Girls. I might even go a bit further, start sending my friends Parks and Recs gifts and wearing skinny jeans we need to return. Spelled with a V, hashtag based, hashtag millennial core. Now millennial maxing is a very fascinating concept. Trying to live like a millennial to make yourself happy. Maybe I should try that for the video. That would be pretty fun. Right, yes. Right. I like that this person said hashtag based. Like, yeah, this is pretty based, that thing I said. So funny to imagine someone having a conversation in real life and being like, ah, I'm based. Thank you so much for coming. It means the world that you could be here. Yeah, I mean, I was so sorry to hear that you lost your whole family in a tragic bounce house accident. And, you know, I just want to say I'm here for you and I care about you and, you know, anything you need, you just let me know. Thanks. That means a lot. Pretty based. That was pretty sick what I just said, actually. That was real as hell. I will say, I do really appreciate that this post seems to really be embracing every part of millennial culture, even the stuff that we consider cringe, like sending Parks and Rec gifts, wearing skinny jeans. I honestly think that embracing the stuff that we've been told is very cringe about being a millennial is, on the internet of 2025, brave. Is that crazy to say? I mean, it's not like the most brave. I don't think this guy's a hero or anything, but like it's not nothing. Born to be a millennial, graduating class of 2012, BuzzFeed employee, Obama campaign volunteer, meeting One Direction when I'm actually hot, $2 per dozen eggs, Brooklyn parties in affordable New York. Was rent really that cheap in the 2010s? They say affordable New York. Hold on. Okay, yeah, according to nyc.gov, the median rent for a studio apartment in 2015 was $2,300, which is a lot less than it is now. Today it's $3,000. But still pretty insane compared to most other cities. This person's secretly a millionaire. They're like, God, I miss affordable New York. Everything's so expensive. Yeah, rent's been crazy. I just wish I could like get my head above water, you know? Rent? You rent? That's disgusting. I'm talking about buying the city. Okay, what are you gonna do with it when you buy it? More cops and more Amazon trucks. What? So this really gets to the heart of this whole thing, and that is that nostalgia is a drug, okay? I talked about this in the Gen X video that I made like forever ago. But for me, it's very easy to get sucked into some nostalgic, romanticized version of the past. And I feel like we're witnessing the beginnings of that happening on like a mass scale, specifically for millennials. And I feel like we might be falling into the same trap that I did when I was 14. You know, I was dissatisfied with the way that my life felt, so I was looking to the nearest group that seemed to be having fun. And at the time, that was millennials who got to be adults ahead of me. And now, in a time that doesn't really feel super fun. I think the closest group that was having fun are those same millennials. Like, they got to be adults during a time when, like, we didn't know the pandemic was gonna happen. Everything was a little bit more affordable. Things were kind of generally a little bit chiller than they seem to be right now. Not to mention one glaring reason why people might be a little bit nostalgic for the type of life millennials got to live in the 2000s. This is a comment from the first TikTok. No smartphone, just a new girl inspired outfit and an iPod loaded with passion pit. No smartphone. Chills. Literal chills. You, sir, have won the internet. I don't know if this is the whole thing, but I do think a big part of why people are looking back fondly on like the millennial lifestyle of the 2000s is because a lot of the soul-sucking and awful technology that we're constantly being asked to use just did not exist. There was no AI, there was no constant stream of algorithmically selected videos trying to train my brain into buying a $9 thing from the TikTok shop that shows up in 3 years. There was a lot more separation between like the digital world and the real world. Not to mention the other ways that culture has kind of shifted in the past 10 years that are a little scarier than the fact that, you know, Google sucks now. This trend really is looking back on those years with very rose-colored glasses. There were obviously a lot of things to be scared of or upset about at the time. And all this is to say, I totally empathize with the people who, you know, feel like they wish they could have lived that kind of lifestyle. Looking back, it seems pretty nice to not have a phone, go to a global village aesthetic coffee shop, and pay only $2,300 in rent. But I do think, even though I'm not a millennial, I am a little happy for them that they're getting a little bit of cultural good karma from being dunked on for like a decade. And I do like that the things that people seem to be nostalgic for when it comes to like the millennial lifestyle is like listening to fun music and having fun times with your friends, having like an affordable lifestyle where things feel a little bit easier. Because not to get too like big picture with it or whatever, but I do think that the things that people are nostalgic for are really just showing us what they want from like the here and now. And hopefully that sort of like longing for a simpler time or like a more gentle time can help us make choices that will hopefully lead us in a better direction for the future. Because, you know, like if you want to live in a better world, the only way that that's even remotely possible is if we all kind of choose to do what we can. So to follow this TikTok trend, I'm also gonna borrow something from millennials in the form of 2010 style optimism. Or I guess just like a sliver of 2010 style hope in general. I hope that this TikTok trend is maybe a sign that a lot of people want more from life than to just watch AI generated content selling them drop shipped products and paying $40,000 for a 2-bedroom. And maybe, like just maybe, we can move away from the more dystopian versions of our future and towards a future that includes the global village coffee house aesthetic. I really think if we just get that back, a lot of other stuff is just gonna fall into place. Anyway, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. It is super nice when you guys do that because you don't have to at all. What the hell? If you like this video, subscribe, and if you didn't like this video, I don't want to hear about it. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.